You're watching the USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. And you are in for a treat this evening. One of the rare matchups in the USL Championship. East meets West as Hartford Athletic welcome New Mexico United. Happy to have you with us this evening as we welcome you inside the booth with MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. Ricky, beside the fact that it's a rare matchup that we don't get to see too often this evening, styles clash in a big way between these two sides.
Soccer's called a beautiful game because there's numerous ways that you can approach this game, and there's not one right way. Players, coaches have an idea how this game should be played, and there's no difference here tonight. New Mexico is a team that wants to dictate tempo. They want to slow the game down and play in between lines versus the Hartford Athletic side that wants to get at you. They want to be vertical. They want to be physical. This game is going to come down to the team that has the ability to impose their identity on the opposition, and that's going to be the team that takes all the points.
And the reason Hartford has seen an uptick in their attack lately, as simple as it sounds, Ricky, they're just putting the ball in the box more.
This Hartford Athletic side wants to be vertical. They want to be aggressive, and especially when the ball goes wide, I want you to notice the amount of options that they have in the attacking 18-yard box. Chance creation was never a problem for Brendan Burke in this Hartford Athletic. It was the efficiency or lack thereof in the early parts of this season. For Hartford Athletic, they've done a better job at being a little bit more composed, at picking their corners when they get in front of goal.
And while we're talking about touches in the box, it's actually the wingbacks we want to spotlight, because these two players, Sebastian Anderson and Emmanuel Samadia, they're the driving forces in the attack.
When you have defenders that are comfortable on the ball, it's a luxury to have because, number one, it gives you a structure and a foundation off of the ball, but more importantly, on the ball, it lets the players high up the field be more aggressive and getting the numbers into the 18-yard box, which ultimately gives more options to score goals.
On the other side for New Mexico this year, it's been boring in a good way. They're just so well-rounded and so good in all aspects. You really have to dig to find a weakness. If there is one, they haven't gotten a lot of production from their top attacking pieces. 4 goals for Luis Fernando, 7 goal contributions from Miquel Akale, but help on the way. Greg Hurst back from injury, and maybe the missing piece, Valentin Noel, just acquired this past week.
Valentin Noel is a player that Dennis Sanchez loves because he has the ability to play in between line and has the quality to find that final ball to really unlock opposing back lines. And he also gives them a flexibility that can play a different position in that front line for Dennis Sanchez, and he's an all-league type of talent, the ability to combine with his teammates, the ability to go 1v1, but when he does get to that final third, he has the quality to find the back of the net. It's a big opportunity for Valentin Noel to make a statement here on the road with his new club.
He stepped right in and scored in Jägermeister Cup for New Mexico United this past weekend in limited time off the bench. We know he fits Dennis Sanchez's system together last year in Las Vegas. So a rare matchup here this evening as East meets West. Hartford Athletic looking to climb out of the cellar in the Eastern Conference. New Mexico United looking to get back on top of the Western Conference. It's Hartford and New Mexico next on CBS Sports Network. Hartford and New Mexico taking the field here at Trinity Health Stadium in Hartford, Connecticut, just about set for the action as Hartford Athletic look to keep what has been a recent positive spell going. Here's a look at their starting 11. A lot of emphasis placed on that front three, Ricky.
A lot of fluidity that Brendan Burke instills within that front three. Jang is going to stay as high as he possibly can. Will give Jimenez the ability to come underneath and almost play as a number 10. And Engalina, do not be surprised if you see him peel left to isolate and to go 1v1. One thing that is for certain within that front three for Brendan Burke, they want to play direct, they want to get at you, and they want to make the opposition extremely uncomfortable. Good option for the Brendan Burke side in Hartford Athletic.
On the other side for New Mexico, you could make the case this is the strongest starting 11 they've put forth this year, and they're sitting near the top of the Western Conference as is.
That front four is so dynamic, so explosive, but they also are very connected in the way that they move around the field. Valentino, well, we talked about him in the open, the ability to pull the strings. Luis Fernando, left-footed, likes to provide the width and provide a lot of service. Akale might come centrally to understand that Valentino needs a play that he can play off of to supply Greg Hurst, who they're going to be very happy to have back in the starting lineup for Dennis Sanchez.
It is an abrupt shift for both of these teams to have this game on this Wednesday night, coming off very emotional, chaotic weekends. Both these teams had identical 2-2 draws in Jägermeister Cup this past weekend and then went on to win in the shootout. New Mexico stay on the road, traveling from San Antonio up to the northeast. Hartford getting to come home after a short drive to Rhode Island after back-to-back weeks of that El Clamico derby. The stage is set for a key matchup this evening for both in the USL Championship. New Mexico in their yellow from left to right. Hartford in their green from right to left. Elton Garcia, the referee in charge, wearing the black this evening on a beautiful evening for the beautiful game. And away we go from Hartford. Have you with us on CBS Sports Network. Alongside MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin, I'm Joe Malfa. One thing you'll see pretty clear early on is a hefty possession advantage for New Mexico. They are maybe the most potent possession-based team in all of USL Championship. They've won that possession battle game in, game out. They will look to control the flow early on.
That's going to be a top priority for Dennis Sanchez, just to settle into this game and slow the game down, knowing that on the other side, Hartford Athletic wants to play into Jang as quickly as they can and make it more of a physical game. It's going to be a clash of two styles, and that is exactly what Brendan Burke mentioned to us on our phone call, saying we cannot allow New Mexico to settle into this game.
He also said they have to be wary of transitional moments and set pieces, and already a transitional moment led to a set piece here for Hartford. Not the best real estate for it, but they have a lot of big bodies forward and look as if they want to send this one into a dangerous area. They go short, played out wide. Engalina drops it back. Got caught between the feet. Not much to be done with it there from Emmanuel Samaria. Dangerous pass back here. Tabaki's lost it. Oh, Momo Jang, almost a gift, a heavy touch. Tabakis did just enough to disturb him.
Far too casual here from Valentino. Well, not want to see pick over his left shoulder and just see Jang just lurking behind this back line of Hartford Athletic. Nearly a gift for the striker, for Brendan Burke. Tell you about how opportunistic he is in terms of his mentality at getting himself aggressive.
And now at the other end, Valentino Noel drawing a free kick for New Mexico. There's a reason we spent the time we did on him at the top of the broadcast for you folks at home. This is a difference-making move in the Western Conference. You and I casually chatting behind the scenes with some of our colleagues. The general consensus recently is that maybe a Sacramento or a San Antonio are in the best spell of play in the Western Conference and maybe are the team to beat in the Western Conference. But Valentino Noel changes everything. You have to put New Mexico at the top of that list now.
It gives you that little bit of extra quality. Valentino Noel does the ability to find that final pass, but also just to combine. And as he requires so much attention, that allows Greg Hurst, Akale, Fernando to have more time and space and more freedom in the attacking phase of play.
10 goals, 7 assists last year for Valentino Noel under Dennis Sanchez at Vegas. Free kick for the visitors. Lofted in. Had it clear. It was by Samaria, who paid for it. Trainers with some urgency being waved onto the field. Emmanuel Samaria, the 24-year-old from Sierra Leone, making his 14th start of the season this evening. Couple of assists in his second year in USL Championship. Seemed like he just wanted forearm or a head to the head as he rose to get that one clear. So the concussion test going on. Brendan Burke looking on concerned. Second season at the helm of this Hartford Athletic side. You could look at it glass half full or glass half empty. They missed the playoffs last year, but Brendan Burke really building this organization from the ground up once again. Tied their single season wins record last year, set the club single season points record, though they fell a few points shy of the playoffs. Now in year two, yes, sitting in last, but it's sort of last place in name only. Right now, they have games in hand on every team ahead of them, and from a mathematical standpoint, they actually control destiny in the playoff race for the 8th seed right now in the East, even though they're sitting at the bottom.
And he was very open and honest. Brendan Burke was in our conversation saying the vibe around the building is extremely high, especially after the back-to-back results at Rhode Island. A very difficult play with that new stadium. The team is confident. They're starting to come into health, and more importantly, they're starting to get a rhythm in the way that Brendan Burke wants to play, and in doing that, relationships are starting to form in critical situations.
And the one thing you said, they are coming into health. They have been bitten by the injury bug in a bad way this year, so the last thing he wants to see is Samadia laboring here after that early challenge, but indications are that he might be ready to come back onto the field. He was chatting with the referee, sitting over that way, going through some warm-ups now, so hope to see him back out there momentarily. He just gave a thumbs up to the bench and to the trainer, so we'll take that hopefully as a good sign, and I'll let you know when he gets back out there. In the meantime, it's over the top to Jang. Header back a weak one. Tabakis has it in the end, but that's twice that Jang is giving them issues with his speed up top.
So the challenge for both center backs for New Mexico between Jabang and Maples is if one does go challenge for the initial ball, the other one needs to drop underneath and provide some coverage, because Jang is too good of a striker if you give him that time and space.
Jabang pressured, trying to feed it through, giving away. Zico Bailey lost it, looking back through for Jang, and cut out. Play a dangerous game sometimes, New Mexico, with their heavy emphasis on possession.
The struggle for Dennis Sanchez and this New Mexico side. Yes, they want to be heavy in terms of the possession, but you have to find the right balance in doing that. You want to be progressive, you want to be attack-minded, but in doing that, you cannot allow yourself vulnerable going back the other way, specifically against a team like Hartford Athletic.
Taking it a step further there in the possession for Dennis Sanchez's group. They've won the possession battle in every single game. His first season at the helm for New Mexico. Last year guided Vegas to the Western Conference Final, falling short against Colorado Springs. Eric Quill last year, the head coach of New Mexico, moved on to be the head coach of FC Dallas in Major League Soccer. And New Mexico went out and got arguably the best coach available on the market in Dennis Sanchez. Gloucester looking ahead. Slalom. Dummy through by Greg Hurst, clever, but Noel didn't pick up on it. There's Samadia back out there, good to see, after he took that spill moments ago. And Galena, shot for handball as Jabang went to ground. Referee Elton Garcia saying that it was a natural motion as he went to ground. Now played in by Jabang, and it cleared by Dispay. Feverish pace in the first 7 minutes of this one, back and forth between these two sides, and away they go again. Flag stays down, and Galena with it. Jang streaking down the middle, looking that way, and Galena, it's cut out by Maples.
The second time back-to-back that Galena almost has the ability to run in behind and really cause some concern of this back line of New Mexico. For Dennis Sanchez, we just mentioned the balance. If you do not have pressure on the ball, you need to drop and eliminate the space behind your back line.
Jimenez, Anderson, heavy challenge there from Jabang. Advantage played for now, and Elton Garcia realizing there wasn't much of an advantage there, so a free kick in a very dangerous spot. And is there a card attached to this as well? Elton Garcia is calling Jabang over. You saw him go into his pocket for a moment, but thinking better of it, it seems, and just trying to settle him down.
Fantastic recognition from Marlon Harrison here to understand the high line, so the space is in behind. And Galena needs to go with his left foot to get a better angle to bend it across, and this is a tough challenge from Jabang. Through the first 10 minutes or so here, New Mexico struggling to find the tempo that Hartford Athletic wants to play at.
One of the more highly regarded referees in the league, Elton Garcia. That was borderline for sure. Comes in, has a stern chat with Jabang. They exchanged a handshake at the end of it, so it seemed peaceful. Jabang will certainly be on a tight leash now going forward. Samaria standing over it with that left foot. Sebastian Anderson there as well. It is Samaria, saved by Tabakis. Rebound still loose and cleared out for a corner. Tabakis did just enough to parry it onto the post, and it's a milestone save as well, his 650th.
Fantastic strike from Samaria. The way that he approaches it allows him to generate enough power and to bend it away from Tabakis. What a save that is. Full extension to push it off of his near post and keep this 0-0.
Samaria from the corner, playing it back post over everybody. Can Dispe keep it in? He did. Only for a moment. Alex Tabakis, the all-time saves leader in USL Championship, getting his 650th, first to that plateau in a very big way, denying Samaria on the free kick.
Just see how aggressive Hartford Athletic is electing to press. Almost all six attacking players in the attacking half of this field. So if you are New Mexico and you have the ability to break that initial line of pressure, now the whole game will start to open up, but you have to be a bit quicker in terms of your tempo for the visiting side.
10 minutes into this one, anybody who hasn't seen these two teams this year might be questioning which one is the team in last place, and I mean that as no offense to New Mexico here, but Hartford, sitting in last in the East, have come out here and been the better side through 10 minutes. Something we've sort of expected of them this year, to start to round that corner after things were bleak early on. Injuries a big reason why. They're starting to round into form as they've gotten healthy. That's no accident. Almost splitting it through to Akale was Greg Hurst. Now sent long again for Angelina. Flag stays down again. Jang running with him. Now the flag comes up. But another dangerous moment of Hartford looking vertical.
Fantastic recognition again from Samaria, understanding that the first look needs to be forward because you have Jang and Angelina that are just so explosive and so vertical within their runs. But it needs to be quicker at recognizing the danger for Jabang and Maples. You need to drop off. About the third time in the first 12 minutes that you've gotten beat in behind your high line.
New Mexico, after such a strong start to the season, they have pulled back slightly in a way. Before their win on the weekend in the Jägermeister Cup against San Antonio, it's Hurst now latching on. Great ball played through. Hurst wins a corner. But before that dramatic game this past weekend, it was back-to-back losses for New Mexico. They were 8-4-1 and in first place.
It's a little bit of the glimpse of how good Valentino Well can be. As he comes century, he actually pulls out Joey Farrell, which gives Greg Hurst that avenue to run into. It's a good recovery from the center back in the end, but you have three real options and central locations for New Mexico: Akale, Hurst, and now Valentino Well.
Makwele Akale, Zico Bailey standing over the corner after some words exchanged. It's Akale who takes charge. 5 assists leading the team. Akale drops it back post, fighting for it on that back post. Alan Maples attacking it, and they'll do it now from the opposite side. Jalen Lindsay there as well. A lot of contact, but cleanly played defensively by Hartford. Now it's Zico Bailey with the in-swinger from the opposite side. Bailey looking again, back post. There's Valentin Noel heading it square. And a free kick on the way for the visitors.
See Angelina having words with Jimenez. Just no need to engage in any sort of contact as Jalen Lindsay is actually facing his own goal. Good recognition from Valentin Noel, and it comes down to communication and just pulling off Jabang. Clever from Jalen Lindsay, just at the last second to come across Jimenez and invite that contact, giving his side a free kick.
It's going to be in some ways a matter of bending but not breaking tonight for Hartford, just knowing the sort of pressure New Mexico generates from their possession, from their territorial control. In one of those spells right now defensively, Hartford, they're just trying to hold on. Akale swings it in, the header save by Siaha. Plays it quickly. Samaria sees plenty of space out in front. He's looking long for Ngalina. Tabakis thought about coming out for it, retreated. Ngalina gets there to the end line, feeds it, front save by Tabakis. Here's Lindsay.
The ability to rotate in and out of formations for Dennis Sanchez is on display early in this game. Zalala will be the single pivot on the ball right now, which gives Zico Bailey the ability to play almost as dual 10s with Valentino well in different pockets underneath Greg Hurst.
Akale on his preferred left foot, looking for Zico Bailey.
Great touch.
Ngalina, Jang running, wants it. On the wrong shoulder. You see him gesturing in front of him where he wanted that ball and went the opposite way. Long from New Mexico now. Don't see that too often from New Mexico. But on a night like this where Hartford is going to be vertical, that space could be in behind for New Mexico to exploit in and of themselves. Jimenez gets it to Ngalina. Hope your track shoes are on. We've been end to end for 15 minutes. Ngalina.
Just back and forth, playing at 100 miles per hour. Good recognition here for Siaha to go quick. And now Samadi picks up this ball. Ngalina needs to hit this first time, because if he does right side of your screen, Jang actually has the right angle on Talon Maples in the end. It's a good recognition to Tabakis to come off of his line and deny that ball back across. But this New Mexico side, Joe, is playing a really dangerous game with how explosive Ngalina and Jang have been early in this game.
You and I had a conversation recently with Terry Boss, the head coach of Lexington in USL Championship, and it was an interesting concept he shared with us. A question he asks all coaches that he interviews for roles on his side: what's your ideal goal in 4 passes? Hartford showing tonight they don't need 4 passes. So many of these have come in 2 passes or less. Here's Jang with it. Jang going for goal, and he scores! Hartford's leading man, giving them the lead.
The better side through the first 17 minutes here at Trinity Health Stadium. Brendan Burke wanted their side to be aggressive. They wanted them to be opportunistic. Good recognition from Harrison just to pick the pocket of Zalala. And now it's all about 1v1 ability from Jang. Step over, drop his shoulders, and all he needs is a half of a yard to create a window. And I want you to notice how he comes back across through the legs of Jabeng. There's no chance for Tabakis to come across because he can't see it. Great goal for Jang. 5th on the season, and Hartford Athletic in the driver's seat.
Mamadou Jang, a player that Brendan Burke is so high on. Had good conversations with Brendan Burke about this young player last year and this year. And the direct quote from Brendan Burke, simply put, I would be surprised if he didn't make it to Europe. And it's a player who came in last year in his first year in USL Championship, scored 11 goals in his age 20 season. That's just his 5th this year in regular season play, but so much of that not necessarily his fault. With the injuries early on this season for Hartford, there were so many games where they were forced to play different stylistically, sitting back defensively, and he just never had the service or the support. It's there now, and the goals, no accident, are starting to come again.
Service is the most important word when you're talking about a striker like Jang. Yes, he has 1v1 ability that was just displayed on that goal, but he is a box number 9. He loves to play off the shoulder of his individual marker, and his timing is what really sets him apart, because he has the ability to stretch a game, but also to be very aerial dominant. He's starting to become, or is, a complete striker in USL Championship.
Hartford 3-1 when scoring first this year. It's only the 4th time this year New Mexico has conceded first. They've lost all 4 of those games. How does New Mexico respond? They were down 2-0 on the weekend in the Jägermeister Cup, scored 2 late goals to tie that at 2 before winning in the shootout. Hartford themselves a 2-2 then shootout win in Jaeger Cup this past weekend. They made it through to the quarterfinals. Show off your team pride and style with official merch from shopusl.com. Check out brand new tees, hoodies, novelty items, and more of your favorite USL team at shopusl.com. Scanning the QR code now. Right before that goal was scored, I was just saying how Terry Boss asked that question about your goal in 4 passes or less. There have been moments tonight where we've seen Hartford get to goal in 2 passes or less, whether that's playing from the back direct or because of their pressure that Hairston applied there. There were no passes in that one. Hairston won the ball, picked up loose by Jang, and they score. So many of their goals are scored in that way. It's a couple of touches and boom, back of the net. There aren't these crazy big builds that you might see from a New Mexico. It's simple, it's effective, and Brendan Burke just wants this team to be picking up results in that way, playing to their strengths.
Effectiveness is the top priority for Brendan Burke, specifically playing at home. He wants his side to win every single game that they can when playing here at Trinity Health Stadium.
Space for Jimenez in the pocket. Corner on the way, looking to tack on to this 1-0 lead.
You and I had the ability to speak with Brendan Burke earlier this week, and a player that we talked about was Jimenez, a player that came over from NYCFC2. And he said he has a different type of profile than anyone that we have available, the ability to drive in between lines, and we've seen that good start for the number 17 of Hartford.
Short to Samaria. Back to Anderson, better angle, leaves it front post. There wasn't much Hairston could do with it. Kale just gets it out of danger. Luis Fernando, haven't called his name a lot to this point in this one. For the front 4 tonight for New Mexico, as effective as it can be, it is their first time playing together from the start here with Fernando, Noel, Hurst, and Akale. Noel's first start since being acquired less than a week ago. Hurst missed most of this season due to injury, just came back recently, last game, just his 6th appearance of the season. Fernando and Akale have been regulars, but in different roles here with those two centrally, Noel and Hurst.
Just look at that front 4. That has to be influential for Dennis Sanchez. Akale is a player that has the most touches, which is 13. For the first 22 minutes, not good enough for Dennis Sanchez and the visiting side who want to come into this environment and take points. But you have to give credit to Hartford Athletic. Tactically, they've got this game spot on. And notice how Jimenez drops in and just provides a security blanket in front of that back line.
Samaria had to clear it, took a deflection, ended up in the middle, dangerous play. But recovered for the moment by Morera. Not out of the woods yet. When he skies it, almost caught him by surprise. He had to rush it. It was deflected. Corner for New Mexico.
Just so many options for Dennis Sanchez. The call requires so much attention, which gives Valentino well their freedom from about 25 yards out. And this is instinctual from Luis Fernando. Right place, right time. And in the end, good recovery from Joey Farrell yet again.
Akale looking back post. Jabang gets a head on it as he was falling. Not much he could do. There's your first look at Valentin Noel in the pocket and not being afraid to take the shot. Only 1 goal and 1 assist this season for Valentin Noel with Vegas before the move. Just playing in a completely different role. Vegas have had all sorts of issues this year. They fired their head coach, Antonio Nocerino, earlier this year. He essentially had Noel playing in the defensive midfield as a 6, and that is just simply not where he should be playing. He can play there, doesn't mean he should be, but now being utilized in his more preferred role in the pocket as either a false 9 or a 10 in the eyes of Dennis Sanchez. So you can't put too much credence into his downswing statistically just because he was in such a different role this year where it's just not going to lend itself to goals or assists playing in that number 6 spot.
Just speaks about the quality as well for Valentin Noel, that a coach like Antonio Nocerino trusts Valentin Noel to play that deep, and he did a good job. He obviously won't show up on
the stat sheet, because as a number 6, your job is just to put out flyers and continue. Watch out.
Given away, Jang getting around to Bakis. He can dribble this one in. Mamadou Jang with 2 on the evening.
Coming into this game, I had the ability to speak with Brendan Burke, and I asked him what was the key to be successful. What did you need to do well to keep all 3 points here at Trinity Health Stadium? And he was very open, he was very honest. He says, we want to press them. We never want to let this game get settled, and more importantly, we want to make them play in big spaces. When you have a striker like Jang that is just so opportunistic, that lives on the front line, he's going to sniff out half opportunities, and he's not going to find an easier goal in his career to get his brace within the first half here.
Now 6 on the season, 2 on the evening. All smiles for good reason from Mamadou Jang. Look, we weren't trying to just sell this Hartford team to you. There is reason that we dive deep into how their first 7 games were to how the last 8 games have been. Yes, they're in last place technically, but they're very much not a last place team, and they're showing that tonight. They're getting healthy. They are healthy, I should say. Only 1 player missing tonight. That's Jack Panayotou, who could be a starter on a given day. But outside of that, fully healthy and showing what they can do.
Just so much talent on the roster for Brendan Burke, and that is something that has gained a lot of respect through all the coaches at USL Championship. Yes, the results haven't been there, but now it's all about the consistency and starting to grow in confidence. Through the first 26 minutes, this team looks like a nightmare to deal with.
Here's Luis Fernando. New Mexico now have to respond halfway through this first half. Down 2-0, looking for a Akale. Here's Jang. Engalina running centrally. A lot of bodies between Jang and Engalina, but he finds a way through. Mamadou Jang still with it. Mamadou Jang cutting it back. It was too much in the end. Still alive though for Jimenez. Galina scores! Oh, it's all Hartford in the first 26 minutes!
One, if not the most explosive pairing in all of the USL Championship between Jang and Engalina. But this is all about the decision-making for Jimenez. Notice how he approaches the ball facing forward, which gives him the ability to pick out this pass. Fantastic decision from Engalina to hit it first time, just to simply wrap his right foot around it and let momentum do its thing to find that side netting. Full of confidence, this Hartford Athletic side. 3-0 in the first half hour here.
Get the supporters some tea. They have had to sing Brass Bonanza 3 times already here in the first 27 minutes. The concern right now for Hartford is in the aftermath of this celebration, Mamadou Jang is laid out on the turf receiving attention from the trainer. And it's an opportunity for New Mexico to call some bodies over to the bench and just have a word. This has gone completely sideways in a way that it really hasn't this year at any point for New Mexico.
For Dennis Sanchez, it needs to start within your defensive positioning. Too many times it's been Maples, Jabang, Gloucester, and Lindsay just getting caught in isolation. When you're playing against such talented players and 1v1 direct explosive players like Jang and Engalina, they're gonna hurt you every single time. You need to provide coverage. If one steps, the other 3 provide, and that has not been the case for New Mexico. You add that to the recognition or lack thereof, understanding that if there's no pressure on the ball, you need to drop off because you've left this man, Tabaki's, vulnerable time after time.
We asked the question to Brendan Burke coming into this game, which game do you point to as the game you want to replicate over and over again so far this year for your Hartford group? And it's a clear-cut answer. They won 3-0 against Loudoun United, a team that's sitting in the top 4 in the Eastern Conference. And they didn't just win that game 3-0, they set the league record for highest expected goals in a single game. It was above 6 on that day. It also just goes to show you how unlucky they've been this year. On a day where they had an XG above 6, they still only scored 3 goals that day. but they've showed different spells of that type of play this season, but it hasn't been consistent. They showed it in flashes against Louisville. They showed it in flashes against Charleston. They showed it in a larger stretch against Loudoun. This has been the best 30 minutes I think they've played all season, Ricky.
And Brendan Burke needs to be a very happy manager. Everything that he wanted within the 30 minutes of this game, he's gotten. Stout defensively, explosive offensively, and more importantly, Galina and Jang, the two players on the score sheet, full of confidence.
Almost off for the races again. Officially 4 shots on target for Hartford in this game. 3 goals, and the other was that free kick that Tabakis made the outstanding save on. Bailey given away.
Opportunity now for Dennis Sanchez to really look at his roster and say who's going to step up, who's going to shoulder the responsibility, because it's been all one-way traffic in favor of the Hartford Athletic. The ability to go 1v1 with Jang, and also just to sniff out half opportunities, and still a lot left to do. Not easy to go 1v1 versus a goalkeeper. He has so much time, and a lot of times when strikers have that, they start to second guess themselves. He's intentional, he's instinctual, he gets his brace, and it's an easy finish for a player of his quality.
And then it was actually Jang who created the third goal in its entirety. He's the one who dribbled through 4 or 5 guys. Ultimately, it falls for Jimenez. He feeds Galina, and then Michi Galina does the rest. But that was all created initially by Jang. So 2 goals created in the third, and a half an hour in, it is all Hartford over New Mexico. Happy to have had you with us here on CBS Sports Network alongside MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. And if you're just joining us midway through this first half, you missed a lot. Hartford, the last place team in name only coming into the day in the Eastern Conference, because they've turned the corner and gotten healthy. They are putting New Mexico to the sword, arguably the top team in the Western Conference. And it has not looked that way through 30 minutes between these two sides. Valentin Noel. Too much for Akale. A lot of that sloppiness in the attacking half.
Just hasn't been clean enough for New Mexico. Not enough movement ahead, specifically by Greg Hurst, who's a player that Dennis Sanchez wants to slowly get himself into game fitness. Has to deal with a major injury. Greg Hurst was only supposed to play about 30-35 minutes, so expect a sub on that top line for Dennis Sanchez.
Jang pressuring, almost took it away from Talon Maples. And just a quick correction there, Ricky. They expect 45 from her, so they do expect him to get to halftime. So barring an injury, we are not expecting a sub here, but we are expecting that sub to come at halftime. Akale. Noel. Almost 80% of the possession belongs to New Mexico, but all of the lethal opportunities have belonged to Hartford. Zico Bailey putting it through, dangerous one in. Luis Fernando had his back turned to goal, not much he could do.
Comes ball from Zico Bailey, but if you're Siaha, you need to come off and command your 6-yard box. Fantastic recognition for Presses to come behind Dispay and Farrell and do his defensive duties to deny Fernando a clear shot on target.
Through Hartford's first 7 games this year, they scored 4 goals. They have 3 in this one. There's a chance that in the first half tonight they have more goals than they had the first 7 games of the season. It shows, again, how far they've come, how healthy they've gotten, and how they have fully turned that corner. Last place, yes, but games in hand on every team above them. In some cases, 3 games in hand, where they do control destiny for the 8th seed right now. Way too early to be talking about that, but again, just goes to show you that don't be fooled by seeing this team in last place. To be fair, though, Brendan Burke said winning those games in hand to get to the playoff line is easier said than done. to have that many games in hand also means that Hartford have the most congested schedule over the next 2 months, and that will be difficult mentally and physically to navigate.
But from Brandenburg, all you want is a chance and an opportunity. And having that run of games in the second half of the season, especially with the form that you're becoming to come into, two wins, 2 losses, 1 draw in your last 5. He has to be feeling extremely confident and good about his side for this playoff push.
Looking for more. Jang, flag stays down. Pardon me, Engelina pulls it back now for Jang. This might be the first time we've seen Hartford recycle instead of just taking it and going to goal. Looking long, flag goes up. And this recent turnaround where they've been seeing the better performances, they're doing it against top teams. It's a draw against a Louisville side that's lost 1 game. It's a draw against an Indy team above the playoff line. They lose 1-0 against North Carolina, who are sitting in the top 4 in the Eastern Conference. They beat 3rd place Loudoun. They lose 2-1 against 1st place Charleston. They're doing this all against some of the top teams in the Eastern Conference as they've turned the corner. Possession not meaning much right now for New Mexico. Akale with just a 1 shot on target, looking for more. Akale weaving through. Still Makwele Akale. Zico Bailey. Jalen Lindsay curling a ball ahead. Fernando didn't get much on it.
Good ball.
Line splitting ball, but the second ball from Fernando looking for Bailey, given away.
This needs to be a bit cleaner for New Mexico, especially in that phase of play. Once Hartford Athletic gets all 11 players behind the ball, it's about the 4th time that we've seen them try to play in behind. There's not enough real estate. You have to play in front of them to draw them out, and that's when you can beat them through combination play.
You can catch more footy Saturday at 12:30 Eastern as the SPFL Premiership season is back underway. Catch Motherwell and the Rangers going head-to-head right here on CBS Sports Network. And Galena feeds it through. Preston stepping up off the back line, drops it through, looking for Jang. Interesting to see TJ Prestis making that sort of run up off the back line. It doesn't typically, but especially with a 3-0 lead, you'd think they want to sit back and just preserve it at this point. Apparently they have other things in mind.
"37 minutes in, Marlon Harrison has had himself a fantastic game on and off the ball. On the ball to keep the game moving, to connect, to back to front, but off the ball, more importantly, how many fires that he's put out, winning second duels, just clogging passing lanes into Greg Hurst, and ultimately almost taking him out of the game.
This game statistically appears to be an anomaly in so many ways. Final 3rd entries are 25-9 in New Mexico's favor. And yet, Hartford have scored in 3 of those final 3rd entries compared to the 25 of New Mexico, which have yielded just 1 shot on target to this point. Dispe. Barely picks it up. Valentin Noel.
Needs to be quicker. Needs to be quicker for Valentin Noel. If he does take that 2nd or 3rd touch, now you need more of an aggressive movement from Greg Hurst or Luis Fernando. Both players are operating in the same sort of pocket, which makes life very easy for Hartford Athletic just to defend that area of the field.
It'll be interesting as we approach halftime to see what Dennis Sanchez does on the other side of it. Akale through for a team that has been playing so well this year, clearly hitting a rough patch. This would be a third consecutive regular season loss. Could it be an opportunity at halftime for Dennis Sanchez to make a statement and make a couple of halftime subs to send a message to the group? Again, we already know one of those subs, Zelalem, and that's because Greg Hurst can only go 45 minutes. But will there be more? Akale, just not their night so far. Nothing doing.
Dennis Sanchez said he wants his side to be a little bit more dangerous, not to have possession just for possession's sake, and we've seen just that through 40 minutes here. It's been doing a good job at getting himself into that final third, but continues to break down once in that attacking phase of play. It's too slow, players aren't taking the initiative and are not decisive enough. That's when you need Valentino Well to stay a little bit more centrally between Greg Hurst and Zico Bailey, just to have those passing lanes, because as of late, it's been almost trying to play in behind where there's no space to break through.
Last year when Dennis Sanchez was coaching Las Vegas, he was on the wrong end of one of these. They lost 6-0 against the Charleston Battery. And he always pointed back to that as a turning point where it was a wake-up call for the team. They all came together. There's still a long way to go in this game. We've seen crazier things happen, but so far trending in that direction where you almost start to wonder if this could be that type of game for Dennis Sanchez's group. Clipped in behind Hurst, headed clear. Picked up by Angelina. Jang through the middle. Angelina cuts it back, didn't have the numbers, and he sacks Zelalem down. Luis Fernando couldn't catch up to it.
Good recognition and good body patrol in the end from Dispe. Just to twist and turn and find his footing and deny that ball into Luis Fernando. But that is the ball that you need to execute if you are Akale, because you take out that whole front line and midfield line of Hartford Athletic, and that is when you can really go at the isolated back line of Hartford.
Samaria wins it. Akale going down to fix his boot. Sent long, flag stays down. Jang looking for it. Mamadou Jang chipping off the post! Oh, that would have been a spectacular way to clinch his first half hat trick, and he knows it.
It's been a dream scenario for Jang. In a game that has so much time and space in behind the back line, now you just worry about your timing, and he does it to perfection. Nearly his hat trick. A bit of class to go up and over Tabakis. He's caught in no man's land. He is full of confidence. He is feeling himself, Mamadou Jang. And when he is like in this mindset, you better watch out.
Had an in-depth conversation with Brendan Burke about Mamadou Jang's development this year as a player. As I mentioned earlier, last year, Brendan Burke, from the outset, was just hammering home the point that he'd be surprised if Jang didn't make it to Europe as a young striker. And this year, he says the biggest strides made come in terms of getting others the ball. Here comes Samaria off the giveaway. Samaria clipping it back post, punched away by Tabakis. No green jersey there.
But again, Joe, the back line for New Mexico all over the field. No rotation, no positioning whatsoever. That is Jabang, your right center back, providing the width and almost chasing down Samaria towards a corner flag. That needs to be Jalen Lindsay. That tells you how out of whack this New Mexico side is and the lack of discipline within this first half.
Closing that chapter on Jang from a moment ago, his improvements have come in helping others, helping in the hold-up play, helping in his distribution. He's the one feasting, though, tonight in every facet. And at the end of the day, for a striker, that's what you want to be doing. Luis Fernando. Samaria caught a straight forearm to the face there, holding his mouth. Play continues. Zelalem through for Akale. Wants to get it to his left foot. There it is. Akale lays it off. Bailey goes for a goal. Siaha was just careful at his far post. Watched it go by.
The first time that we've seen that middle trio really work together between New Mexico As Zico Bailey gets on the ball, he splits two lines to find Akale, and then now it's just a trickle-down effect. Akale requires attention. Zico Bailey's now open and just tries to wrong foot Siaha and pulls it wide.
Acrobatic from Sebastian Anderson to get it up the field. Jang. Approaching halftime, Ricky. Is there anything so far salvageable from this first half for New Mexico? You're thinking very long about that.
I'm trying to give you an answer. But for Dennis Sanchez, you have to think that this 45 minutes has to be the worst that he's had for New Mexico. Within their defensive structure hasn't been there far too easily. You've gotten broken down just by a direct ball in behind. No real bite going forward. Haven't seen enough of the quality of Valentino Well, Greg Hurst, Luis Fernando Akale. Not influential enough. So whatever he says at halftime needs to strike a chord, because there needs to be a change in mentality first and foremost, but also in terms of quality and tempo.
On the flip side, the only thing that's gone wrong for Hartford in this half so far is not scoring more. They've twice hit the post. This could be 5. Good step there. Pushing it ahead, Chris Gloucester. Gloucester centering, looking for her. Scoop by Siaha.
It's a really good ball in from Gloucester. Just to bend it behind the high back line of Hartford Athletic. It's a nightmare to defend. Dear Greg Hurst, you need to slash across that near post just to cut out Siaha and Joey Farrell and take them out of the game.
Farrell playing long, looking for Jang. Mamadou Jang heads it onto himself, and Tabaki's there. That is just Route 1 football in its purest form. Center back to striker.
Just too easy. At a certain point, Jabang and Maples need to understand their positioning and spacing. One fronts Jang, the other one drops in. Both players are getting caught on the same line, which makes life so easy for Jang to run in behind.
Great tackle put in down that right side by Dispay. We've spoken a lot tonight about the attack, of course, for this Hartford side. But what gives Brendan Burke maybe the most encouragement that this team could go places is that back line being anchored by the likes of Dispay and Farrell, among other veterans in this team who have won in this league and at other levels. Lindsay, the overlap, headed away. Again, it's Farrell getting on the end of it. Also on that back line, TJ Prestis has been the biggest, most pleasant surprise this year for Brendan Burke. Joining the other two, Dispay and Farrell in that back 3. Prestis, the rookie out of Yale. Akale. Usman Jabang. Zalalam through, Akale brought down. Elton Garcia saw nothing wrong with it. Again looking long for Jang. Tabaki's well off his line, clears. Throw down next to the corner flag. Not a corner kick here for New Mexico. 3 minutes of stoppage come and gone. Last chance to maybe salvage something from this nightmare of a first half. And they won't even get the chance. They take too long on the throw, and the half comes to an end. That maybe sums up the first 45 minutes right there for New Mexico.
Nightmare for Dennis Sanchez and New Mexico on and off the ball, not really finding an identity in how they want to deal with that man, and most importantly, Hartford Athletic, and a dream first half for Brendan Burke. They were crisp, they were decisive, and the results show 3 goals to the home side.
Could have very well been more than just the 3 goals as well. Twice hit the post. Mamadou Jang with those 2 goals. One more tacked on by Michi and Galena. Dylan's happy. Everybody in Hartford happy so far with this one. It has to be their best showing of the season so far, and there are still 45 more minutes to go. You're watching the USL on CBS Sports, presented by Best Western. It is the fans' turn to feast after Hartford Athletic feasted on the back line of New Mexico United in the first 45 minutes to the tune of 3 goals. Totally one-sided to this point. We'll come back to our game in a moment, but a look around the weekend schedule in the USL. I feel like every game now has that extra gravitas and importance because we're in the second half of the year, but it especially feels that way. Coming up on Friday for Colorado Springs and Lexington, who are in a dogfight right near that playoff line in the West.
A really interesting matchup between Terry Voss and the reigning champions, the Switchbacks, 2 teams that are needing in 3 points, but my eyes go to the one to the left. FC Tulsa in the top 3 of the Western Conference against Ryan Martin, Loudoun United, quickly starting to become who Ryan Martin wants, his fingerprints on his game style of play. Pittsburgh Riverhounds starting to come into form. It's all to play for in this slate of games. Pick your game.
And we don't even touch on Louisville, North Carolina, San Antonio, Sacramento, both of those meetings of top 4 teams in their respective conferences. A lot going on right now in USL Championship. A lot to keep an eye on in USL League One as well. August 6th, 8 p.m. right here on CBS Sports Network. It's expansion side FC Naples against a team who's lifted the trophy in League One in Tormenta.
And USL League One, this Naples side came out flying. They were scoring goals. They were really difficult to break down, but since then their form has dipped immensely. They've only had 2 wins since May 25, so how can you quickly regain that form? And no better opportunity to do that against an Ian Cameron side that is full of confidence and a team that has won USL League One in Tormenta.
Ian Cameron might still have flashbacks to when you scored on him from midfield going back a few years there, Ricky. We've seen all sorts of goals from Hartford in this first half. We'll revisit the first 45 minutes when we return. Popcorn refills a must for the Hartford fans after the first 45 minutes. They got to witness up 3-0 over New Mexico United. Happy to have you with us on CBS Sports Network as we welcome you back inside of our booth alongside MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. Ricky, you started the evening talking about how the beautiful game can be played in more than one way. Well, I think some people might try to copy the way Hartford played it in the first 45 minutes.
Route 1 was the name of the game for this Hartford Athletic side, and it came with the recognition of the high line of the New Mexico side. When you have Engalini, when you have Jang, they're going to beat anyone in this USL Championship side for pace. You play direct, you be efficient, you be clinical, and in doing that, you score 3 goals, and it's been a dream start to Brandenburg's side.
And we'll take a look at those highlights from the first 45 minutes. Very one-sided, pretty much exclusively down at the left end of this field. It was attack after attack for Hartford.
You have to give credit to Marlon Harrison to understand that we want to press high, we want to force the issue, we want to force turnovers higher up the field, and in doing that, now you allow Jang to go 1v1. And this is all about a striker that is full of confidence. The scissors to drop his shoulder, to open up a half of a yard, and just wrong foot Tambakis to come to that near side. And then he's just opportunistic, the willingness to chase down any given ball in front of him, eludes the goalkeeper, and it's an easy finish for a player of his quality to get his brace within the first 20 minutes here.
He did the hard part further up the field. This might be the easiest goal that he scores in what is going to be a long and successful career for the 21-year-old. Only had to wait another minute for the next one to go in for Hartford.
And now he does all of the dirty work on the ball. Notice how much attention he requires. 3 players of New Mexico, which his ball pops out to Jimenez, and this is all about decision-making and understanding where you want to go before you receive the ball for Jimenez. First ball into Galena, and how he hits it first time is exquisite, top class. 3 goals for Hartford Athletic.
Perfectly curled beyond the outstretched hand of Tabakis. The stats are interesting. Look at possession. Ricky, I don't know if there's ever been more of an advertisement for the fact that possession doesn't always tell the story than that first half right there.
Exactly what Dennis Sanchez said to us on our phone call, saying we need possession with a purpose. We need to be a little bit more ruthless and dangerous when we get to that final third. That hasn't been the case for New Mexico, and it's been all about efficiency for Hartford Athletic.
Second half on the way. Is it more continued dominance for the Hartford Athletic side, or do we have a comeback possibly for the ages here for New Mexico? It's Hartford 3, New Mexico 0. You're watching this USL on CBS Sports Network. Let's take a look at the travel map brought to you by Best Western.
Been all about Mamadou Dieng, and notice how aggressive he's been. Most of his action have been in the final third within the first 40 yards of his attacking goal. Is exactly what Brendan Burke wants from his striker. If he can replicate this type of movement, it's going to set up for success in the second half.
Mamadou Dieng with first half hit the post as well. First half that could have seen Hartford score 5. They will have to settle for 3, and a 3-0 lead as they go left to right in the green. New Mexico right to left in the yellow. Dieng with a full start there. He's overeager, and now we're underway in the second half. Happy to have you with us on CBS Sports Network alongside MLS veteran Ricky Lopez-Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. Happy to have had you with us so far this evening, and a couple of subs to get to you out of the break on the New Mexico side. Marlon Vargas replaces Gideon Zalalem, and Tomas Amang replaces Greg Hurst.
Specifically for New Mexico, in that double pivot role, Valentino Well might drop a line deeper and play next to Zico Bailey, which should give New Mexico more of a play that wants to get on the ball, to slow the game down, to pull the strings from a deep lying position. Marlon Vargas has the quality to get himself into that final third with 2 goals, 2 assists. And Amang is going to give an outlet just to run in behind. So now you have a little bit more of a vertical threat going forward for this New Mexico side.
Luis Fernando. Overlap, Chris Gloucester. And drifting the whole way. A lot of the issue in that first half for New Mexico was simply sloppiness, and that's not something that has really been a problem for them this season. Maybe it's crept up a little bit more during this skid they've endured. 2 straight losses coming into the night in regular season play. They had a shootout win over the weekend in the Jägermeister Cup. Tonight it's been just the sloppiness that has really stood out for New Mexico.
It's sloppiness, it's been slow tempo as well. Great ball here from Zico Bailey. Those are the types of passes that you need to break lines into Marlon Vargas, who's playing as a withdrawn striker underneath Thomas Amang. And in this area of the field where New Mexico struggled immensely in that first 45 minutes, there was not enough movement left side of your screen. That's when you bring in a player like Amang just to pull out Joey Farrell or Dispe, to open up space for Valentino Well to be that second option going forward.
Samaria wins it right off of the throw-in that he conceded. That is the hustle and intensity that Brendan Burke loves to see. Now played through. Dieng won't get there. Tabakis wise to it off of his line after the first half he watched. One of the other big things that Brendan Burke mentioned in our conversation was simply the physicality. He said, if we take the physicality that we played with against Rhode Island and play with it against New Mexico, they can't stop us. And that's been the turning. It didn't quite come off, but they will end up with a corner out of it. And it's really not an insult in that regard against New Mexico, that comment from Brendan Burke in terms of if you play that way physically, you'll get the result. They're just a smaller team physically than Rhode Island were this past weekend. Trying to go quick off the corner. Maples. Noel. Valentin Noel delivering, headed clear again by that back line, which has been terrific for Hartford. Another ball in from Akale, glanced on back post! Put across frame and somehow not in. Shaking his head, Jalen Lindsay, maybe wondering how that ended up the way it did.
That's a nightmare to deal with this ball from Akale that gets us a little bit of a deflection. You need to go to target if you are Jalen Lindsay. You're about 3 yards out. Just try to find that far post, and you get one back.
That might have been 3 inches out, let alone 3 yards out. Another corner coming now for New Mexico.
Been a good start to the first 5 minutes here for New Mexico. They're playing a lot quicker, more decisive, and the energy is there. So whatever Dennis Sanchez said at halftime really struck a chord, because we've seen a good impact for the second half for New Mexico.
Akale curling, Siaha almost overran it, but the big lanky goalkeeper secures it. It's been wonderful tracking the career of Anthony Siaha, coming completely out of nowhere. Spent a year in a lower division from From there, went to indoor soccer with the San Diego Sockers, then the San Diego Loyal for 2 years with no appearances as a backup. All of a sudden surfaces for Monterey Bay, their star of the last 2 years. Just completely out of nowhere that he's become one of the top goalkeepers in the league. And even before that, going back to college, he went to 3 different colleges and never had any playing time at any of those 3 colleges. So 3 college teams, multiple pro teams, indoor league, San Diego Loyal, never really saw a minute. Goes to Monterey Bay, shines, and now one of the top keepers in the league.
Tells you about the strength mentally for How, especially with that path that he's traveled, that he's gone through. It's so easy for a player just to hang up the boots or the gloves in this instance and say, it's just not for me. I'll take on the next step in my career, but he's stuck with it.
Gloucester took a deflection on the service. Akale settles, too slow. Now whipped back in, headed clear by Prestes.
See the frustration from Marlon Vargas as Akale picks up this ball. It needs to be laid off into the subs path so he can just run onto it and smack it first time. Watch out.
Jang calling for it, now curled that way. Mamadou Jang, he's shoved down, keeps his balance. Jang with his back to goal, lays it off. Can he get there? No, cleared by Noel. He is on hat-trick watch in this second half, and he feels he could have had it there.
The position that he takes just to peel their bottom of your drop down and do their defensive duties.
Maybe too honest? Are you advocating for some nefarious play here, Ricky Lopez?
The game within the game, Joe. He goes down, that's the point to the spot. He probably steps up to it, he gets his hat trick. It's all a striker's mentality, right?
There's some parents who are turning to their kids who are watching this game saying, no, it's always good to be honest. Make sure you tell the truth. Meanwhile, you're here. No, kid, go down. Do it. Stop. Dispe kept it alive. Sebastian Anderson delivering, looking for Jang, peeling off of that back post. The ball ran out of steam. Anderson, though, keeps it alive. Galena tried to hit it first time on the volley and out for a goal kick.
Seb Anderson is a player that Brendan Burke highlighted on our phone call, saying he's done a fantastic job. He's been our best player, especially on that back line. Flawless is the way that he described him on and off the ball. His 1v1 defending, very good and very difficult to break through.
Luis Fernando, heavy touch, but he recovers well. Still Luis Fernando, lays it off. Marlon Vargas thought about it, pulls it back, looking back to Luis Fernando. This back line of Hartford just not letting anything through. And Galena pulling away. 2v3, but Jang with him. Uchi and Galena, heavy touch. Can he recover? No, Jabang shielded it off well. Then made a mess of it. Kept in play by Jang. And Galena there, cleared by Maples. There's nothing that's a dead play with the hustle of the front two for Hartford.
They want it. They want it that much more than this back line of New Mexico. The ability to hunt down every 50-50 ball to win their duels. Nice little play here from Marlon Vargas.
Sebastian Anderson doing the shielding there defensively. He'll turn 23 in a week and a half. Player with 6 years of professional experience who's the age of a college senior, as Brendan Burke points out. Starting his career early with the Colorado Rapids, saw a couple of loans to the Switchbacks, played under Brendan Burke in 2022 when the Switchbacks made the conference final. One of the first players that Brendan Burke wanted to bring in this year for Hartford. He's paid dividends. Here he is again pressuring Anderson. Akale. Lindsay, Bailey, Jabang. Completed nearly triple the number of passes, New Mexico, than Hartford. They haven't really gotten anywhere with it. Possession for possession's sake, it's been at times tonight. Among Akale to Lindsay at the end line, feeds it through. Vargas was there, Among hits it. And that is halfway to Stamford.
These are the types of areas that you need Marlon Vargas operating in, because he plays in between lines, and what that does, that pulls out Joey Farrell and now allows more players to be more aggressive and creates a numerical overload for New Mexico. But now it's just a cleanliness in that final third. You need to be a little bit more composed if you are Hmong to drop, let this ball drop and then get it on target. But if you have the ability to break that initial line of pressure of Hartford Athletic, the game will start to open up, and that is where New Mexico is at their best. I want you to notice, Joe, once New Mexico is trying to build out of the back, Hartford Athletic, they're pressing with 5. So you have Ngalina, you have Jang, and then you have Morera, Jimenez, and Marlon Harrison or Seb Anderson coming with them. So if you can play in front of that back line, make Joey Farrell or Dispe step off of their line, that's when you can carve through them in terms of your combination play.
Already made 2 changes, New Mexico. They're preparing, it appears to be at least 2 more. One of those players, Dayon Harris, wearing number 5. We're told he was only about 20 to 25 minutes fit tonight, coming back from a torn ACL that he suffered early last August in a training session. So it's good that they are going to stretch him to about a half an hour, a little bit longer than initially intended. Shows he's coming along and getting up to full fitness. He'll be a key player for them down the stretch. Also, Will Seymour set to come on. First, a free kick from Vargas, curling it back post, a header wide from Hmong. Jabang there as well, claims that it took a deflection. Writhing in pain in the box right now. The defender for Hartford Athletic. Looks like Dispe who's down.
Good ball from Marlon Vargas, and it is Dispe who makes contact with the ball. It's the left boot from Jabang that catches him in the midsection. Not gonna feel good, you feel for Dispe.
It's a good sign that they're saying he said no, he didn't need the trainer. New Mexico, though, claiming that, oh, hey, let's get this show on the road here. If he doesn't need the trainer, get up, let's play. Well, when they watch the replay back at exactly where he was hit, they might understand the delay from Dispe. A slip and a swing and a miss on the corner, but it almost works out for New Mexico. An awkward balance with the spin that ball had on it. Kept alive for Akale, now Vargas. Looking through on the turn, Jabang. He's brought down. Upton Garcia staring right at it, said play on. Another ball in over the top for New Mexico. Just hasn't yielded anything to this point. It's a back line that's really strong in the air for Hartford. Try from distance for Bailey, gets in quickly on Siaha, but he makes the save nonetheless.
Good effort from Zico Bailey. All 11 players within 30 yards of the defensive goal for Hartford Athletic. So you have to be able to pull the trigger from distance and make them step out of their shell. Hits it well, just straight at Siaha. In the end, an easy save for the goalkeeper.
Two subs are up and ready now for New Mexico. And around toward Jang, muscling off Jabang. It's out for a New Mexico throw, and here come the changes. It'll be Jalen Lindsay coming off for Will Seymour. Dayon Harris coming on for Luis Fernando.
Substitutions for New Mexico.
Interesting if they change the shape off of this one. New Mexico. Will Seymour coming in, more of a central defender. Jalen Lindsay, an outside back. Harris for Luis Fernando, that's like for like up top. Sebastian Anderson delivering, flicked away on the back line, kept in front. Jang was there, nearly his hat trick. He seemed to think he was out of the play. Quickly, he was right back in the mix of it all.
Because Maples drops in and actually deals with this initial ball, but as he has the inability to step off, he actually plays Jang onside. Right on top of that 6-yard box with the form that Jang is in. You expect him to have his hat trick. Watch out.
Almost could have had it there. They have been careless tonight. New Mexico and some of their back passes.
But careless on and off the ball, Joe. On the ball, yes, you see the gift that you gave to Jang. The back passes haven't been enough quality, but off the ball as well, they're positioning extremely high. And you're just asking for trouble when you're playing against two strikers like Angelina and Jang.
Beyond the hour mark now here in Hartford. Glad to have had you with us with Ricky Lopez Espin. I'm Joe Malfa. All 3 goals in the first half for Hartford Athletic. Entered the day in last place in the Eastern Conference, but in name only. Injuries took a toll. And they were sitting down there, having played the fewest games in the Eastern Conference. They actually controlled destiny for the 8th seed in the playoffs, even though they were in last. How many games in hand they had on the teams above them. And tonight showing they've fully turned that corner, taking it to one of the top teams, arguably the top team in the Western Conference. Standings would show New Mexico 3rd coming into the day. But you poll 10 pundits around the league, it might be split on who the top team in the West is, with a fair few going New Mexico's way. Take a look at the live standings. Hartford do climb out of the cellar. It's Tampa Bay Rowdies who are bottom now. Hartford climbed to 11th. They're 3 points back of that playoff line. It's a spot currently occupied by Miami FC. And wouldn't you know, next week in the midweek, Wednesday night, Hartford hosting Miami FC. So that game a week from tonight, after all they've endured this season, barring a collapse here tonight, Hartford could win and put themselves in a playoff spot. Jimenez. Not sure what he had in mind there. Didn't quite work out, but it did yield a corner.
Jimenez has had himself a really good game. Obviously gets the assist on Angelina's goal, but the ability to make those runs out of midfield are a nightmare to track. And this is a sub that you would see from Brendan Burke, just trying to set up shop as Macangila is going to give you a defensive presence. See the frustration from Jimenez, does not want to be pulled off.
Taking off a 10 to bring on a natural 6. Beverly Macangila, essentially a trio of defensive-minded midfielders in there now. For Hartford Athletic, it gives you a sense of what Brendan Burke has in mind. Just lockdown time, up 3 goals with 27 minutes and change to play. Looking to go up 4, though, from this corner. Had it clear. Joe Farrell ballooning it over the top. Anderson keeps it alive. Sebastian Anderson going for goal.
It will be a true 3-5-2 now for this Hartford Athletic side, specifically of Hairston and Macangila, that will sit centrally, and their responsibility now is just to shield this back 3 and just put out fires, clog passing lanes, not allow New Mexico to play in central locations. The tactical and really good sub for Brendan Burke, trying to save this result. Just see how tight now Hartford Athletic is on the left side of your screen. 2 players sitting in front of that back line.
Noel. Akale. Noel. Sidestepping Morera. Bailey. Talon Maples. Center back getting further up in the attack now. Throwing Caution to the wind, New Mexico. Slipped through by Dion Harris. Marlon Vargas had it blocked. Falls for Akale, blocked again. Talon Maple stepping up. Looking through, it finds Gloucester. Clip toward goal. Siaha has it. Everything is just blocked right now by Hartford. The sacrifice, the hustle, the physicality, it's all shining through.
In the end, wrong decision from Gloucester. You need to smack this ball across that 6-yard box into the traffic. But it's actually a really good play in between lines from New Mexico. But when Marlon Vargas gets on the end of it, it just takes too long to make a decision and to take off his shot. You take that half of a second more, which gives Joey Fair the ability just to close down that window. It's been those slim margins that continue to haunt New Mexico.
New Mexico set to make their 5th and final change here. Is Tomas Pondeca coming on, and he will replace Valentin Noel. So the first start in a New Mexico jersey for Valentin Noel doesn't quite go to plan. He had his moments at times, but really just raked over the coals here, New Mexico by Hartford, and not much for Noel to do.
Tough outing for Valentin Noel, a player that you and I and USL Championship as a whole respect immensely with the quality that he has, but not really unable to make his impact felt and find the rhythm of this game. You have to give credit to this man, Marlon Harrison, who is down receiving treatment. Him, combined with that back three of Farrell, Dispay, and Presses, have done a fantastic job at making life really difficult in terms of their positioning, but also their willingness. You mentioned how many times have they blocked a shot, winning their individual duels. Their box defending has been flawless.
Marlon Harrison now getting back to his feet. Here's what Brendan Burke is looking to turn around. This is an organization that hasn't made the playoffs since 2020, and you could even put a little asterisk by that. No fans in the stands that year. Different setup in terms of the format of the season in USL Championship. These fans have been longing for a playoff berth that they deserve. They are here in full voice, week in, week out, regardless of what some of the results have looked like. Brendan Burke has acknowledged that. It's his mission to get this team to the playoffs and beyond. The season started off in a bad way, but they look a team that are set to make a run in the Eastern Conference. That'll be all for Hairston this evening. It'll be Samuel Carriaga who takes his spot. Last year again, Brendan Burke tied the all-time single-season wins record for this club, set the points record, didn't make the playoffs, still fell short. You could tell things were trending in the right direction for this club historically. Vargas, Gloucester. Oh, ended up being a save for Siaha. That was a service from Gloucester, but it drifted toward goal. Siaha wise to it, corner on the way.
Better decision this time as this ball comes to Gloucester. You put the ball in a dangerous area, and then you just cause some chaos, and you force a really good save from Siaha. Tries to pick out that far corner. Good recognition from the goalkeeper to push it wide.
And swinger again from Akale, headed by Morera. Again by Samaria, kept alive by Bailey. Nobody in the vicinity. Nine shots, 4 on target, 3 goals, 2 posts hit for Hartford Athletic. More efficient, more lethal, with only 25% of the possession. Carriaga picking it up, and Galeno was offside. Carriaga pushes still, goes for goal.
Makes the wrong decision in the end. Carriaga, you have 3 options ahead of you, Jang and Galena and Samadi. That makes a really good run from that weak side. So good job at continuing your movement, but you just need to lay it off into the oncoming run from your outside back.
Carriaga getting the appearance off the bench tonight on a night like this by design. And chatting with Brendan Burke about some of their positional flexibility. Another giveaway here from New Mexico. Come back to that in a second. Played through Mamadou Jang off the post. Oh, the 3rd post hit tonight by Hartford. For the 2nd time, Jang hits the post in search of a hat trick. It remains 3-0. Akale clipping it back post. Vargas knotting it down. Bailey. Seymour. Siaha just gets it to safety. He's a bit shaken up. Might have taken a knock on the ankle. Hobbling a little bit still in goal. Siaha. It's put back into play quickly by New Mexico. Switched by Bailey. Under 20 minutes to play. Akale, calling the Minneapolis Messi for that reason right there. Played back, in by Jabang, and out for a corner.
Good ball in from Jabang. Even better decision making from Seb Anderson. Not aware of what's behind him. You do not want to risk anything, so simply just put it out for a corner kick and reset your lines.
Corner comes in. Again, it's Hartford heading away. Back to that point about some of the positional flexibility for Hartford. On a day where they want to muck up the midfield a little bit, they can play with 2 sixes and a double pivot, 2 defensive midfielders. On a day where the game is going to be more open, they could play with 2 10s. All the while, they always have the wingbacks going, Jang up top, and Galeno running underneath him. There's so much flexibility based on the opponent, based on the situation for Brendan Berg, and he has the players for it now that they're healthy, bringing in a player like Carriaga off the bench in a moment now where you want the extra player to go forward, maybe find that extra goal, put this one fully to bed if it's not already. Try from distance here for Samadia, touched away by Tabakis.
Brendan Burke has done a really good job in the offseason on bringing players in that can play multiple positions, so that gives you that flexibility, like you mentioned, Joe. And these are the player Samadia that has really come into his own over the last couple months here. The ability to be left-footed, but can also come centrally and really challenge into the interior, forcing a really good save from Tabakis to push it wide.
From the corner, gathered by Tabakis. I'm going to put you on the spot. This Hartford team, do they get in the playoffs? If they stay healthy, I'll put that caveat in because we've seen them have issues with the injuries. If they stay healthy, they get in.
Yes.
I agree.
Especially with the form that we've seen for Galena and Cheng. Those 2 players together are just a nightmare to defend. And in theory, if you can get more of a secondary scoring from a player like Morera Jimenez as well, a player that Brendan Burke says we need more production, more goals, more assists from him. Those are 3 real options.
Vargas hitting it at goal and out of play. Let's take a look at the Best Western upcoming schedule. Right here next week, same time, same place, CBS Sports Network, Wednesday night, FC Naples and Tormenta in USL League One. The following Friday, North Carolina and Detroit City in the USL Championship here on CBS-SN. And that Saturday, it's Tampa Bay Rowdies, Phoenix Rising on ESPN2. You'll be on the call next week for that Naples-Tormenta game. An interesting one in League One between a Naples side that's in its inaugural season against one of the standard bearers of League One over the last few years, title winners back in 2022 in Tormenta. Quarter of an hour remains here at Trinity Health Stadium. Jang causing all sorts of issues for every member of that back line tonight. He slips by Maples. This time he does go down, as you were calling for earlier, but he doesn't get the call on it.
Wrong play. But it's just a glimpse of, number one, the mentality of the striker of Jang to hunt down every ball that is played in front of him, but also have the strength to fend off his individual defender and then have the skill to beat him. He's shown a different look in which quickly making him a nightmare to defend and a striker that players fear to play against because he can hurt you in so many ways, whether it is running in behind, whether it is poaching goals, and now creating on him by himself.
Vargas. Gloucester. Back to Zico Bailey. Trying to split it through. You're seeing, and I think you have seen all evening long, what the link has been. Somebody in the pocket who can cut through you. That's Valentin Noel. The opportunities really weren't there a ton tonight because they fell behind so early. But you know it's there. You know that's the next evolution for New Mexico. In the meantime, Jang goes down. He's the reason that New Mexico have been in this situation here tonight. 2 goals in the first half, 2 post hits since then in search of his hat trick.
Here, very different goals here from Jang first. It's a little bit of individual skill to have a scissor, not one, not two, but to create his own little avenue to pull this strike between the legs of Jabang. And then this is all about his mentality and the opportunistic nature of his willingness to create something out of nothing. He's done a fantastic job, yes, on the ball, yes, his creation, but his work rate has really been infectious for every single player in a Hartford Athletic jersey.
I love that shot from our camera crew. You've got Tabakis on his knees with his palm stretched skyward, almost at the same time that Jang outstretches his palms in celebration of a goal that hasn't even happened yet, but he knows is coming.
I didn't even mention the gritty as well, the dance moves. Throw that into his arsenal.
Hey, we're in training camp season now. Jamar Chase is somewhere practicing his gritty for the Bengals, and Mamadou Jang, he's dusting his off as well. Now up to 6 goals on the season after he had 11 last year. And in conversing with Brendan Berg, part of the chatter has been maybe some people around the league questioning, hey, what's up? Is he having a down year compared to last year? There's nuance to it. Again, they were missing so many guys early in the year. They had to play more defensive by design. He wasn't getting the service. The goals are coming now, though, as everybody else has come back and got healthy as well. Does look like his day may be done, though. He comes back out on the field for now after he was tended to. But there was a heated conversation on the bench. Siaha has it. Kyle Edwards will be entering at the next stoppage. And it will be, we're told, for Mamadou Jang, who no doubt was lobbying to stay out there and try and get his hat trick. He smells the blood in the water. He has this whole game ever since they took that 3-0 lead. He has twice since then hit the post in search of that hat trick. Maybe this is his last opportunity to try and find it. He's calling for it. It's fed too long. Gloucester, though, keeps it in play with an awkward deflection off his chest. Well, perhaps not. Hartford was set to take the throw. They thought it was deflected as well, but here comes that change. There'll be some nice applause here for Mamadou Jang. 2 goals, could have been 4, as Kyle Edwards takes his spot.
The type of game for Jang that can really turn his season around in terms of its production. To see the ball hit the back of the net not once but twice, but also get denied by the post. That's going to fuel him. That's going to give him some motivation, saying I should have had a hat trick. I potentially could have had 4 goals here to get the thousands in attendance here at Trinity Health Stadium on their feet. What a performance from Mamadou Jang.
Conversation and putting you on the spot on the Hartford side is simply, do they make the playoffs? You say yes. What about New Mexico? They were sitting in first for quite a while in the West. They fell off that perch, replaced by San Antonio and Tulsa. Another ball comes through here for Hartford, and Gloucester is forced to deal with it. Do you think they can get back to first after the addition of Valentin Noel, or do they settle somewhere in that 2 to 4 range in the West?
I think they'll definitely be challenging for that top spot underneath Dennis Sanchez, because let's be very clear here, it's still year 1 under Dennis Sanchez, so it's not going to be perfect. You're going to see ups, you're going to see downs in a season, and one thing that you and I know from having the ability to speak with him, he's a very level-headed guy, right? Understanding not to get too high and not to get too low, and that's going to be
Contact here, Dispay off that long throw. Anderson out for a goal kick.
That is going to be the message to every single one of the players for New Mexico, because you look at this roster, there's just so much talent. And he's done a good job at picking the right talent to form relationships within their team. For Dennis Sanchez, it's an opportunity to look yourself into the mirror and this New Mexico side and say, what type of team do you want to be? Do you want to just settle for a top 4 spot? Do you want to challenge for that top spot in the Western Conference like we were a year ago? Do not think it's a matter of if, I think it's a matter of when. You see Valentino will really find his rhythm, and in doing that, every single one of the teammates around him will grow in confidence, will grow in quality, and then you have a real problem in the Western Conference.
And again, just at the halfway point, both these teams making that halfway turn tonight. 15 games behind them coming into the day, 15 games ahead of them. That obviously reduces to 14 now. But it's a sprint to the finish. Those 15 games these two teams played, they were spread over 5 months, March, April, May, June, July. The other 15 games, 2.5 months, August, September, half of October before we get to the playoffs. So playing the same amount of games in half the time. There's more baked in time off in the early going of the season. There's Jägermeister Cup play. There's breaks in the midweek for Open Cup. But it is a sprint to the finish now. And here is a sprint for Kyle Edwards cutting through this New Mexico back line. Edwards off the bench. Edwards scores! He replaced Jang, who had 2. Now he has 1 of his own. Kyle Edwards makes it 4 for Hartford.
Responsibility of a sub is to come onto the field and give something that was missing and impact it in a positive manner, whether it is your work rate, whether it is your quality, or your willingness and not to take not 1, but 2 New Mexico players and send 1 to the ground, and then have the composure to simply open up your hips and find that far post. Turning your defense into offense. Great goal from Kyle Edwards. And a dream day at the office for Hartford Athletic here at home.
Baseball, you could have a combined no-hitter if it's multiple pitchers. Is this a combined hat trick? Jang with 2 goals was replaced by Kyle Edwards, who seconds later scores 3 between them.
I think you're stretching on that one, Joe, but fantastic addition, Kyle Edwards, to making his impact felt immediately.
What it actually is, though, is just a nice competition that's brewing between the two, because Mamadou Jang, with his 2 goals tonight, got to 6 on the season. Edwards coming in the night was their leading goal scorer with 5. Now they're tied at 6 apiece. So what it really is, iron sharpening iron in the competition in that striker spot for Hartford.
Mentioned Jonathan Jimenez, a player that can give you that 3rd weapon. Kyle Edwards as well. A handful with his verticality, his directness, the physicality that he brings onto that top line. Brendan Burke has some real options going forward, especially in the attacking phase of game.
He's a player who is in good form. Kyle Edwards, until international duty and an injury, put a little bit of a stop to things. Just 1 appearance in 10 minutes over the last 3 games for Kyle Edwards. The game before that, he scored 2 goals. He was rounding into form. He had 4 goals in a 5-game span at that time. Now getting back into full health, international duty behind him. Can he get hot with the rest of those guys up top? Edwards, the international for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 32 caps, 6 goals. Played in, glanced on, just wide by Seymour. With 6 to play, New Mexico still pushing for something on a night where they aren't going to get anything in the point column. Can they at least salvage a goal and some momentum into the week ahead? They will have the weekend off, New Mexico. They don't play again till August 9th. That's Saturday on the road against FC Tulsa. And they will need this mini break here. It's been a difficult week. They played at San Antonio on the weekend in the Jaeger Cup and just continued out east. Never had a chance to go home. Akale going for goal. They'll finally get to return home, have 10 days off before they play that next game.
Not easy to play 2 games in a week, let alone on the road, and 2 really difficult places. San Antonio, Toyota Field, very difficult environment to come into the Northeast here at Trinity Health Stadium, where the fans are extremely loud as well.
Awkward collision there. Both players left worse for wear. To be honest, I'm not quite sure who this yellow card is going to. Both players came in for it. 50-50 ball. It's anybody's guess who Elton Garcia sees as the initiator here.
Just by coming of the bench of New Mexico, it's going to go to Chris Gloucester, and rightly so. Seb Anderson gets there first. He makes the initial contact with the ball, and the way that Gloucester comes in just mistimes his challenge and takes all of the player deserving of a yellow card. It's a fantastic call from Elton Garcia.
Waiting for Gloucester to get up, and then the yellow will be brandished, and maybe another one to somebody on the bench, because Dennis Sanchez irate at the call. Again, Elton Garcia regarded as one of the best in USL Championship. He had the whistle for the final back in 2023 when Phoenix topped Charleston. A seemingly civil chat between Elton Garcia and Dennis Sanchez. Maybe just some frustrations pouring out from Dennis Sanchez for the night that has been. Down 4-0 minutes from the finish line. New Mexico are out of subs, just as a matter of housekeeping, in case Gloucester cannot continue as he's being tended to here. But everything right now is just window dressing on a result that has been in hand since the 27th minute when Hartford made it 3-0. Moments ago in the 82nd, making it 4. Insult to injury here for Gloucester, picking up the yellow as he hobbles off to the sideline.
Yellow card. Assessed to New Mexico, number 3, Chris Gloucester. Card assessing 87th minute.
Two and a half to play. Bailey into space, thinking about it, pulls the trigger. Didn't miss by much.
Well, it's been about the third time that we've seen Zico Bailey pull up from distance, and he hits it well. That thing is moving, it's dipping, it's swerving, nearly finding that top corner. And he's a player that Dennis Sanchez has deployed in numerous of different positions, whether it is at the right back, has formed a nice relationship with Zelalem as the premier pairing for Dennis Sanchez in that double pivot role.
Up, back, and through. Hartford, can they make it 5? Samaria squares it back. Edwards gets in the way. That was intended for Anderson. Edwards. Well, that's the striker's mentality. He was coming off of a goal a few minutes ago, but that one's got to be a dummy through to Anderson, who was the intended target. Anderson winning it back, though, now. Samaria, can they replicate it and actually get it to Anderson this time? Floated back post instead.
Two golden opportunities here for Hartford Athletic. I just want you to watch number 2 center of your screen. He's asking for this ball. Now you need to communicate with your striker. Anderson needs to be yelling at Kyle Edwards just to let this come through, because it's a fantastic pickup from Samaria. That cutback is the most efficient ball in the final third because the back line is retreating, so the space is about 12 yards out.
Okay, Mr. Striker, but how many times have you heard that yell and just taken it yourself anyway?
Ever. I'm a team player. I run over it. I let it go through my legs. Anderson scores off to the corner.
Okay, yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. There'll be 4 additional minutes at the end of this one. One of those nights where I don't know that either coach would be mad at the whistle just being blown at 90. Dennis Sanchez and his New Mexico side probably looking forward to getting home, licking the wounds and picking up the pieces ahead of 10 days off before they come back at it on the 9th against currently first place FC Tulsa. Hartford would like to celebrate this one a little bit longer, and they will have the weekend to do so. They don't play this weekend. They play a week from tonight. That's a home game against Miami FC, who are currently occupying the last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. The Hartford controlled destiny with their games in hand. It was very simply put to us by Brendan Burke. Simply put, not simply executed. At this point, he says, look, we just got to win our home games. If we win our home games, we are going to be in the playoffs. Check the box tonight. The next one is Miami, the team that's you're directly looking to overtake. It's another massive game a week from tonight.
Miami just won into Pittsburgh and grinded out a result, and I say that they conceded in the 94th minute when they were up a goal. So it's not an easy Miami FC side to deal with.
Albeit a struggling and downswinging Miami FC side. A lot of those games have been tight and have been difficult, but they have not been in the best form after an early season spell that maybe had some people wondering if this might be the year they get themselves into the playoffs. They have not won a game, though, since June the 18th. And that's not for a lack of an empty schedule in that span for Miami either. They've played more than 5 games in that stretch, winless over a month. Well, that's what's next a week from tonight for Hartford at home. The way the schedule lines up, if Hartford do win that game and they do jump into the last playoff spot in the Eastern Conference, they'll have to defend that last playoff spot the very next game. They go on the road against a Birmingham team that's also right there in the mix in 9th at the playoff line. So as soon as Hartford could overtake that 8th spot and that last playoff spot, they could cough it up on the road against Birmingham. It's going to be a tight race in the Eastern Conference the rest of the way. Deon Harris has his deflected out for a corner. Haven't really called his name since subbing on around the hour mark. He's, again, back from a torn ACL. This past weekend in the Jaeger Cup was his first game back. He scored as well. In addition to Valentin Noel scoring in his club debut. Here he is again, Harris, scooped by Siaha. They get him to 100%. They get Greg Hurst to 100%. They fully integrate Valentin Noel. It's a New Mexico team that could go on a run. After 3 straight losses now in the regular season for them, they can easily flip the script and rattle off 3-4 straight.
Exactly why I predict them to be number 1 or number 2 in the Western Conference at the end of the regular season. There's just too much quality in the attacking phase of play for Dennis Sanchez, and he's just too good of a coach to put the puzzle pieces together. And Harris is a different type of profile than a lot of the attacking players. He's more direct, he's more explosive, and more vertical in thinking, and he complements, whether it is Valentino Well, Marlon Vargas, Akale, that number 10 role. So there is a little bit of flexibility in the way that Dennis Sanchez can approach games in terms of his tactics and lineups. You throw in Thomas Lamong as well.
Jabang. Last chance for New Mexico to salvage something here. Gloucester lays it off. Miss hit on the clearance.
Good touch.
Samaria still with plenty.
Great challenge.
Left in the tank here. 4 minutes of stoppage come and gone. All eyes on Elton Garcia now. And there is the final whistle. A thorough dominance showing this evening from Hartford Athletic. A 4-0 win over New Mexico United.
Statement type of win for Brendan Burke and this Hartford Athletic side. Defensively, they were fantastic in terms of their positioning, their box defending, and their willingness. And on the ball, exquisite, explosive, vertical, direct, exactly what Brendan Burke wanted. He got, and a massive 3 points to start their playoff push, especially here at Trinity Health Stadium.
A brace in the first half for Mamadou Jang. Amici and Galina tacked on a third. Kyle Edwards made it 4 late in the second half. Complete victory for Hartford here this evening. This has been the USL on CBS Sports presented by Best Western. 4-0 Hartford. We're back in a moment to wrap things up from Trinity Health Stadium. A performance worthy of a bow from Hartford Athletic. 4-0, they take it over New Mexico United, greeting the supporters after the match. We'll take you back through the highlights from this one. It started early for Hartford Athletic. They scored 3 in that first half.
All one-way traffic for Hartford Athletic, but it comes with the recognition from Marlon Harrison just to pick the pocket of Zalolum. Now it's all about the 1v1 ability from Jang, and all he's trying to do is find a half of a yard, and notice how he cuts back across through the legs of Jabang. There's no chance for Tabakis, and just like that, Hartford Athletic get the ball rolling, and they were always going to continue to try to find that second. And this is all about the mentality and opportunistic nature from Mamadou Jang. Chases down the ball, eludes Tabakis, and it's an easy goal, probably the easiest of his professional career to get his brace early in this game.
I mean, there's not many goals you can celebrate before you even put it in, and then you celebrate afterwards too. And then they celebrated a couple minutes later when Angelina scored as well.
Just requires so much attention, sends one to the ground, brings 2 New Mexico players, and all this ball comes out to Jimenez. He knows exactly where he wants to go before it arrives to him. There's information on this pass. Notice the care that he plays it into Galena, allows him to hit it first time, and this is all about the shape. Anishi and Galena approaches the ball to find that far post.
From that point on, it was pretty much cruise control for both teams. Kyle Edwards hits the Jets here and tacks on a 4th just for fun.
Turning their defense into offense, and then a bit of quality to send Jabang to the ground to open up his hips and just beat Thembaki his outstretched left leg. It's a quality goal for Kyle Edwards that comes in and makes his positive impact as a sub to give Hartford Athletic a massive win here at home.
Well, the skid continues for New Mexico. A team that was once sitting in first in the West have now lost 3 straight regular season games. On the other side, the resurgence continuing for Hartford Athletic. They're finally out of the cellar in the Eastern Conference. They control their destiny. They have games in hand. They are looking very much like a playoff team in the Eastern Conference of the USL Championship. Well, Dylan had a lot of fun tonight. We hope you did too. Hartford Athletic take it 4-0 over New Mexico United. My broadcast partner Ricky Lopez-Espin and our entire crew, I'm Joe Malva saying so long for now. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Hartford wins it 4-0. They continue their surge up the standings in the Eastern Conference. Good night, everybody.